if you didn't feel so low, you wouldn't have to get so high. As I look at it, you just have a thinking problem. And he looked relieved. And I said, well, we just need to change how you think about it. And when that happens, it will change how you feel and change what you do. So basically, we took the vicious cycle and just cut it. Maybe around 10 years ago, more or less, I had a client who was a flasher. And it's okay to laugh. It had a good ending. But I don't mean the flashing episode. I mean the relationship.
Right.
I didn't see any close video. I didn't. This was before people were videotaping everything on smartphones. So basically, this guy, he had a very good job. He was an executive, and he would go out on his lunch break about 3 times a week during work, and he would drive around looking for an age-appropriate woman. So no minors or old ladies, according to what he said. And he would, I didn't ask him if he wore a trench coat or, that kind of stuff. I don't know the details, but he would basically get out of his car. He would, exhibit himself. And there would be some kind of response from the woman. And then he would go off and masturbate somewhere. And that would be his pattern. Then he would feel guilty, ashamed, and irritable for like a day or so. And then he would start like picturing it again. He would start feeling this urge. And the only way to alleviate that uncomfortable craving or urge was to go out and do it. He called this having fun. That was his euphemism for it. Now, his wife didn't think it was that much fun because he had a 2-year-old at the time. His marriage was on the rocks. His wife was this close to divorcing him because she actually only knew he did it once a week. So she had known it was almost every day. But he had been arrested twice. He was this close to losing his kid, his marriage, his career. And he came to see me and he said, I have this sexual compulsion. And I've been to a therapist. I've been also given meds. I've been diagnosed as antisocial personality disorder and whatever other stuff. And he said, I've been told I'm mentally ill and I don't know where else to go. I sometimes wish I were the first recourse and not the last for a lot of people because it would save them a lot of time, money, and hassle. Anyway, long story short, I said to him, he explained to me how the whole cycle worked, and I already explained it. And I said, if you didn't think about it, you wouldn't feel like doing it. Is that right? And he said, yeah, because it starts with, picturing it, remembering a time when you did it. And if you didn't feel like doing it, you wouldn't do it, right? And he said, yeah, because I feel guilty. I don't want to do it, but I can't help myself, like the angel and the devil battling on the shoulder. And so I said, well, this is really very simple. I said, you're not mentally ill. I don't diagnose people, but in my, just as I look at it, you just have a thinking problem. And he looked relieved. And I said, well, we just need to change how you think about it. And when that happens, it will change how you feel and change what you do. So to me, it looked very simple. And I kid you not, after 2 sessions, he stopped doing it. Actually, after the first, he walked around the outside of his house naked. He reported back to me. And I said, well, that's better. I'm not sure if you could get arrested.
He must have had a really big piece of property. No neighbors to see him, or?
Well, actually, that's what one of the women that he flashed said. Sorry.
Boy.
Anyway, so sorry. You pay for the subconscious skills. You get the bad jokes for free. So anyway, and then after 3 or 4, he stopped even thinking about it. And then there was no urge, no thought, but right away he stopped doing it. And then at the end, I think I saw him 5 times. At the end of his last session, he was going on a cruise with his wife and things were improving in that area. So, but the reason I mention that is because it wasn't important to know why he did it. We could have spent months. A friend of mine who was a psychotherapist, when I told her about this, she said, you didn't ask about his childhood, his relationship with his mom and all these sort of things. I said, no. I could have, But I said, that doesn't really matter, because what he was doing, the recipe that he put together in his mind unconsciously is the reason he did it. And once we did some work using NLP primarily to change how his mind played with that imagery, it eliminated the desire and then the uncomfortable craving, because he lacked what he wanted, right? It just stopped right there. So basically we took the vicious cycle and just, cut it. And so I often say, if you didn't feel so low, you wouldn't have to get so high. I think I said that first to the flasher. So part of the solution with him, other than the imagination stuff, was to build up his self-worth and give him an alternative way to have fun, euphemistically. And then the behavior went away because he wasn't feeling so low. He didn't have to get so high. The epilogue is he came back to me maybe 2 years later, a year later, to quit smoking, which I honestly wish was the first thing he did, because he stunk. I mean, the guy smoked like 2 packs a day, but he wasn't ready. He wanted to deal with the flashing first, which I agree was more urgent. But then he quit smoking. I said, well, how are you doing with that whole thing we dealt with a couple of years ago? He said, oh, I never did it again. So I said, well, this will be easy. And we worked on smoking.
To me, that solution, that's a real solution, right? Instead of, spending hours or days, weeks, months, who knows, trying to figure out why he was doing that. I love the pragmatic approach of, well, who gives a shit why he was doing it? That is obviously a behavior that's going to cost him dearly. If you can figure out a way to end that behavior, it seems to me that seems to be very, very sensible.